All right, so let's start with the big story that we are tracking in WION at this hour, and this has got to do with a very successful vaccine program that India has rolled out. And India has now crossed the 1 billion milestone of the number of doses that it has delivered to the people in India. Now, India has managed to reach the milestone after 9 months since it kick-started the Covid-19 vaccination program, and to a very large extent for the people of India, the vaccine has been provided free of cost. Now, India has also administered more vaccine doses than any other nation on planet Earth, except perhaps for China. Now, remember, no other country in the world has a population that is anywhere close to what India and China have. The billion doses of the Covid-19 vaccines have been delivered to their respective people only by India and China. The United States, that has a population of a little over 300 million so far, has administered about 400 million doses of Covid-19 vaccines. The European Union, that has a population of a little over 600 million people, has so far delivered nearly about 800 million doses of Covid-19 infection vaccines. And this, of course, has come as a huge landmark move, as the countries initially had faced huge supply bottlenecks, storage challenges, and also a large amount of vaccine hesitancy in the initial period. Now, India has managed to deliver 1 billion doses of Covid-19 vaccines in a span of exactly 275 days from the day that India began the vaccination program. Now, for nearly about 3 months this year, the country was in the midst of what is being described as the worst phase of the Covid-19 pandemic that had crippled the health system across the length and breadth of the nation, and especially in the national capital. The first vaccine dose in India was administered on the 16th of January earlier this year, which means that on an average, 2.7 million doses, that is about 27 lakh doses, have been given every single day through this 9-month-long period. Now, in the initial days of vaccine program in the month of January, less than 50,000 doses were administered. The inoculation drive gathered steam, and the number of doses that were administered in a day then started to increase. A record 21.8 million doses were administered on the 17th of September. That also happened to be Prime Minister Narendra Modi's birthday. Now, 74% of India's adult population has received at least about 1 dose of the Covid-19 vaccine. And according to government estimates, nearly about 30% of the Indian population has been completely vaccinated. But the vaccines will, of course, play a very important role in limiting the spread of Covid-19 infections, and India's daily cases have dropped from a peak of nearly about 400,000 to less than 50,000 between the month of May and June. So this is also the manner in which the vaccination program has been carried out. We started off on the 19th of February. That is when we reached the first milestone of 10 million vaccines. And the 100 million vaccines were delivered by the 11th of April. 250 million target was reached on the 12th of June. And India managed to reach the target of 500 million vaccines that were delivered on the 6th of August. Now, from the 6th of August till the 16th of October, India has now managed to deliver another 500 million, reaching a target of 1 billion vaccines that have so far been delivered. Now, the number of infections has in fact begun to slide rapidly. In the last 10 days, the daily case count has not even touched 20,000 cases. 13,000 cases were reported in the last 24 hours, which is the lowest single-day tally in nearly about 230 days. Now, despite the phenomenal work that's been done in speeding up the vaccination program in the last 2 months, there is still a steep climb ahead. India is aiming to fully vaccinate its entire adult population by the end of this year. And this means an additional 900 million doses have to be administered till the 31st of December. That is before the year ends later this year. So this, of course, is a monumental sort of a milestone that's been reached. Remember, only 2 nations in the world have managed to cross 1 billion doses of Covid-19 vaccines that have been delivered to their respective populations. India and China have managed to reach it. No other country or bloc of nations has a population that is anywhere close to what India and China have. And India has now crossed 1 billion COVID-19 vaccines that have been delivered. Now, a lot of people across the length and breadth of India were given these vaccines free of cost by the government. The exchequer, of course, bore the brunt of the costs. Initially, there were a lot of hiccups in terms of rolling out the vaccines for the people. India, remember, also as a part of Vaccine Maitri, exported millions and millions and millions of vaccines to other nations that could not afford vaccines. And despite the fact that India was exporting vaccines, we've still managed to vaccinate a large chunk. 30% of India's population, we are given to understand, has now been completely vaccinated. At 100 crore plus people still remain, and it needs to be seen as to how this figure will, of course, be completed. 1 billion vaccines. This, of course, is the tracker where more than 1 billion vaccines have in fact been delivered across the length and breadth of India. And also on the back of this very robust vaccination drive, the number of infections has also reduced drastically in the last few months, especially in the last couple of months. The number of infections has been well below the 15,000 mark. It's a huge leap in terms of containing COVID-19 infections. And India has now managed to administer 1 billion doses of the vaccines in exactly 275 days from the time that it kick-started the vaccine program. India also happens to be one of those very few nations in the world that has developed its own indigenous vaccine, the Covaxin, which has also been exported to many nations around the world. So this is a crucial moment for India in the fight against COVID-19 infections. You can look at the number of vaccines that India is being able to deliver on a second-to-second basis. This is the live COVID vaccine doses delivered tracker. So India has now managed to deliver 1,225,000 plus doses of the COVID-19 vaccines to the people across the length and breadth of India. There was a huge bit of a logistical challenge at the time that India kick-started its vaccine program. Remember, because of the staggering size of the population that India has, it was a logistical challenge for India, which started off a little slow off the blocks. There were other nations, such as the United States, such as Britain, that got off the blocks a lot quicker. And they were able to vaccinate a larger section of their population a lot more quickly. But then India managed to pick up pace, especially in the aftermath of the second and a very deadly wave of COVID-19 infections. And from there on, India has managed to ramp up its vaccine production facilities. It has now managed to deliver 1 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines to its population. So this, of course, is an important milestone, and the Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia has appealed to all those who are eligible to in fact get ahead and get vaccinated without delay and contribute to the historic journey of beating the COVID-19 infections. Now, it's taken India 9 months in what India has described as the world's biggest vaccination drive to vaccinate a large section of its population. 30% of India's population has now been completely vaccinated with the double doses of the vaccines as are required. And so far, 100 crore vaccines, that is 1 billion vaccines, have of course now been delivered to people in India. Now, this is data according to the WION portal. Now, 75% of all adults have been administered the first dose, and nearly about 31% have received both doses of the COVID-19 vaccines. Now, the government, of course, has planned some very elaborate celebrations to mark the occasion of 1 billion vaccines that have been delivered. The Health Minister, the Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia, has said that he'll of course be launching a song, and there'll also be an audio-visual film at the Red Fort that's been planned for the occasion. And the day also is expected to see the raising of the largest national flag, weighing nearly about 1,400 kilograms at the Red Fort. This is what is being reported will be done as a part of the celebrations for crossing the 1 billion mark in terms of Covid-19 vaccines that have been delivered to the people of India. Now, the government has also interestingly planned to make announcements over loudspeakers on trains and planes and ships. It has said that villages that have completed 100% vaccination should mark the 100 crore dose administered achievement by putting up posters and banners complimenting health workers for their role in this exercise. And also, the CEO of the National Health Authority, R.S. Sharma, has said that India is able to deliver 700 vaccinations per second. So it's going to be very hard to, in fact, pinpoint as to who will exactly be the 100 crore beneficiary. That is the 1 billionth person who would have perhaps received the vaccine, the 1 billionth vaccine, as to who would it be delivered to. So tracking down that individual will be a little hard. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.